two-thirds, not more than two-thirds gender principle. And I just want to highlight some concerns that were presented or are in a memorandum by the Punguza Mizigo, that's Third Way Alliance Party of Kenya. I remember they have that popularity, I forgot the full Popular Initiative, thank you. Popular Initiative referendum push, they have been collecting signatures. But this is what they wrote to the Speaker of the National Assembly regarding the issues they have with this bill. One, they say that this seeks to create special seats that will ensure that the gender principle is realized in Parliament over a period of 20 years. Because remember, it's from 2022. And the majority leader in the National Assembly talks about a period of 20 years. So they have a concern around it being a hope question. Not that there's a clear way this will be achieved, but it's more like the country's crossing their fingers that in 20 years this will happen from 2022. The other concern they have is that there's no urgency on this. Why can't it come into operation today? Why push it to 2022? They also talk about public wage bill, that this will increase the burden on taxpayers already on the wage bill. The uncertainty question I talked about, that yes, 20-year period, so what happens after 2042 it would be. Then bill fails to address underlying historical issues about just what have been the issues. So just some of the issues they raised there. And I'll begin with you, Honorable Tungo, in this second part, of what you make of some of those concerns. You've heard it's going to be more expensive to do this. You've heard 2022, why that far? What for you is key?
Yeah, one, I'm really wondering. Everything, when it is skewed towards women, it becomes expensive. When they talk of overrepresentation, who is this that is overrepresenting people? It is men, it's not women. So the question is, when they are saying it is the wage bill will go high, does it mean now when it is men it is lower? But the other thing is this, are we comparing, right now when we hear of scandals, money has been stolen, all these issues, who are being arrested, it is men who is stealing from this country, it is not women. Look at the percentage. So we look at the salaries that these women are going to earn vis-a-vis the damage that men are doing when given the executive positions. I'm not against men, but now it has come to time that we also want to tell our women in this country. We are the ones who really stand firm, we are very loyal, and we are the ones who make all those long queues when voting. But when it comes to the cake, cutting the cake and dividing the cake of the country, women are put under. They are not considered executively and even politically.
One would then counter-argue, women are the majority in terms of the electorate.
Yes.
Why don't they vote their own? Why don't women field themselves? Why don't they offer themselves?
The reason is as simple as this. Mm-hmm. The reason is as simple as this. The people who actually own the country in terms of the economy, the people who possess the monies, the people who have the wealth are men. Can I say how? The title deeds of this country, the land, which has more value than anything else in this country, like 80% of it belong to men, or 90%. Mm-hmm. Women, how many women have title deeds around? 1% of the population of the country. When you talk of logbooks of vehicles, who do they belong to?
So men have more muscle
to run more muscle
successful
to fight.
Political.
And in any case, the culture is still biased on women. And that is why I can tell you I'm one of the women who vied, and I was vying on a women position with other women. I can explain to you what I went through. And that was a women position. So I can imagine when a woman is fighting against a man, women undergo a lot. Okay. We have men, I mean, the culture has never believed in women, still up to today. There is a lot that go around women looking for positions. They need support, mm-hmm. They need affirmative action. They don't have the muscles. And in any case, even before a woman decides that she wants to vie for a position, mm-hmm. If you are a married woman, the first thing is your husband supporting this? If it's not, you are not going. All right. That is the first part.
Okay.
And the other thing is, women for sure, they are not, in this society that we are living in, they have not been given enough space to actually do whatever they can do using their energies and even the small things they have. So they need support. We have some time. I know we've grown. From independence, it was 0.5. To date, it is 21%. But still, according to the contemporary society, we really need to grow above. Because we are still under in percentage. Yeah.
Honorable Cherargei, as you talk to me and us about what you are opposed to in this bill, would you first admit that you're in the Jubilee Party, that the president and the leader of majority in Parliament, the president, we saw how the finance bill passed, the whipping that happened, expediency, and don't you dare embarrass the president on this one. Why don't we see that when it comes to this? Are they first not being dishonest with Kenyans?
No, I think as a party, and even all parties will go for a parliamentary group meeting. I've had the ODM members and the Kenya, is it Kewapa, have been meeting party leaders to call for a meeting. But of course, this topic is very unpopular. I hope you saw in your media across the country for the last 1 week that the issue of gender is as unpopular as it is.
When you say unpopular, what do you mean? What do you mean when you say unpopular?
Kenyans do not support for the reasons you have said. You have said the issue of wage bill. You have said the issue of having negotiated democracy, where you are punishing, where you are
because Kenyans, which poll?
You know also I'm a Kenyan. You know, I'm a Kenyan also.
Kenyans are not supporting it.
Because there's a report that is currently been tabled at the National Assembly. 87% of the Kenyans who participated in the public participation process support that bill. So why are we suddenly deciding that Twitter is how we decide to make decisions?
No, this week on Tuesday, of course, with all due respect, let me give out my reason. This week on Tuesday, I was in Shanzu for a meeting with East Africa Parliamentary Youth Group. The youth that were there, they don't support this. They say we have overrepresented the issue of wage bill, the issue of pampering women, and yet we should be our biggest concern. And let me come properly. Let me agree. When NASA was resisting in this country, they resisted on one thing. They were looking for electoral justice. In fact, the conversation we should be having as a country is on how to make politics a fair competition, a just competition,
so then let me
opening the space, as Mheshimiwa Tunga has said, but not discussing something that is not, it is needful but not urgent for the country.
Back to my question, are you saying the president does not have 2 more women CSs in his cabinet to meet the not more than 2/3 because of the wage bill?
No,
when we have a CS without portfolio.
Of course, I agree with you that when I came to this show, my biggest concern is democracy. Unless we want to go back into selection, not election. Because as much as I understand the Universal Declaration under the United Nations is that you give the power of the voter to choose, be it a man or a woman, or be it a unit of both combination sex.
So and you're opposed to this because of the wage bill?
And the issue is, there are so many reasons as to why I'm against.
Give me two.
The other day, one of course is the wage bill, because we told them, punguza mzigo, this katiba is very expensive. Secondly is because we should be concentrating more national and important matters. This thing is needful but not urgent for the country at the moment.
I'll call you back again. You're in Jubilee and the president got this CASs. Again, if you're really having an honest conversation about wage bill, when it comes to the women, why is it then now, oh, wage bill, power to wage bill?
But you know, some of these things is progressive. Yes. Some of this, and that is why I always get shocked when people compare us with Rwanda or any other country.
Because Rwanda has been democratic for longer than Kenya.
You know, Rwanda, the reason we have more women in power in Rwanda, mind you, there was a genocide and most men were killed at that time. That gives...
So we want a genocide?
Yeah.
No,
for violence.
I'm not, you know, I'm giving...
And Ethiopia that's just managed the other day
I'm buttressing in my argument that we cannot compare ourselves to countries like Rwanda. Because
so do you support the increase of PACs for members of parliament if we are to go with this wage bill narrative?
No, I am not aware of any increase on the PACs of members of parliament.
Proposal.
I have not seen it, and it has not come to attention of the
Senate.
So
you would vote no because you are so concerned about the wage bill.
All right.
You know what we are saying. Yes. I know. Let's calm down. I know women are getting fired up. But what my argument?
No, we're getting fired up because you don't have facts.
One is because of the wage bill. You will have to rebut. They will respond.
Okay, hold on. Let him finish.
Secondly,
she has given you facts of the Kenyans that support this. You have said you were in a meeting where some youth said they don't.
Yes.
Yeah, so that cannot be compared.
Number two, I was in a meeting of Kenya Private Sector Alliance. You had even Vimal Shah. It was quoted in one of the national newspapers that in fact we should have MCS volunteer because of the highest wage bill, and that is the concern of the private sector.
And I'm a member of KEPSA. I'm a member of KEPSA. They do not represent.
No,
they do not represent my views.
No, it is the representation of your sector.
Okay, hold on. No, I think that's a very valid point.
Ladies and I'm coming to you. Let him finish then.
On behalf of, finally, the issue of democracy. That's why I'm saying, are we having an election or selection? Because you are punishing voters for electing men.
What about appointments?
Those same voters, hold on. As we come to Ms.
We have
Kamuru,
to be honest. Even when the president appoints, or even county assemblies or governors, they look at the composition, other dynamics apart from gender.
Okay,
there are so many dynamics.
I'm coming to Ms. Kamuru, but I'll put this to your point that Kenyans do not want to feel forced, but Kenyans voted for this constitution that says not more than 2/3, so that it cannot be Kenyans on one hand and then Kenyans not on the other hand.
No, okay, now he's eating into my time.
Okay, you're eating
into my time. No, I think you've talked about democracy, and let's be honest about what democracy is. Democracy is the rule of the majority, and what we're really hearing men say is that they believe that they represent, although that they are the minority in Kenya, the population is 51% female, plus men are the minority, but they believe that they will retain supermajority male rule. And they believe that they know better and that they are better. That's actually your defense for democracy. Because when we are offering something that increases the number of women, not so that we are 50-50, but just so that men do not exceed 67%.
That is chauvinistic. It's very unfortunate.
No, I think the problem is there are people who lost.
Men have never had a problem.
Okay, you told me to wait for you, and I waited nicely. Okay, so listen. The problem we have right now is there are people who lost the fight in 2010, and they're coming back and they're sneaking in under the door and in back routes to try and kill the Constitution of Kenya 2010. There is a legal mechanism to amend the Constitution.
Who are these people?
You are one of them, because you took an oath to defend, protect, and comply with the Constitution. And you are saying, I refuse.
I voted no against this Constitution.
Yeah, so then why did you run for
Constitution? If you Constitution.
Did you vote
sure
for
So you're telling us
the people who
so now
I voted no for this
Hold on. Okay,
now you're eating into my time again.
What that argument would say, those who didn't vote for you should not live in your county?
But that's not the truth, because the truth of the matter is, even though he voted no, he ran for a position created by this Constitution. So when it suits him, he's perfectly happy to accept the Constitution. The oath of office you took
is the same
binds you to this Constitution. So if you want to change the rules, you know, even my not my 4-year-old, he's in class 4, but he knows you start playing a football game, they can't change the rules of the match halfway. If you agree to play the game and the person with the most goals wins, then part of what we have with Jubilee is a level of dishonesty. Number one, this was your promise in 2013. Flat out Jubilee campaign manifesto. We promised to fully implement the not more than 2/3 gender rule. Jubilee party position, that's not mine. It's in compliance.
Number 60.
You see? I mean, it's there. Okay. So they did that. Number two, if they are so opposed to the wage bill, then again, he would be telling us affirmatively that he would never vote to increase any MP salaries, would never vote to increase perks, and in fact would be seeking to reduce them. We are not hearing that from the men. The level of dishonesty here is that he wants to say this part, the Constitution is not a buffet. So let me get to pick and choose.
Hold on.
MP salaries, we have SRC.
And but you went against it. Okay, the members went against SRC, and the matter was moved to court because the members.
But we didn't ask you about SRC. We asked you whether you would vote
even
for.
The president.
Let's not lose plot.
Yeah,
let's come back. Let me come to Honorable Tungo, because you're a woman representing.
No, that's in one challenge. You know that's a problem because she said.
Hold on.
She in fact.
I'll come to you in your time.
Of salaries by saying men would support, which in fact that issue has never been.
We're having that conversation next week. I'll have you over again. Let's go to Honorable Tungo and talk about the explanation in as far as how this bill is going to work. So Honorable Duale says today, for instance, in the National Assembly, they'd only need 22 more women to meet them, not more than 2/3. And he's working with the 290 constituencies. Then there's another thinking that the House has 349. A third of that is 117. So that what we have now is 23 elected, 6 nominated, this is 29, plus 47 women rep, that's 76. So this falls by 41 short of the one side if you look at 349. And the argument is that you can't do affirmative action over affirmative action. So my question to you is, are you comfortable with that kind of analysis, that it's 22 is what would top up because your positions as women representatives are already affirmative action. But if you look at the numbers, if the loss is not more than 2/3, you're still falling short by 21.
Yeah, I want to, you know, our positions, were, the women rep position were actually created because of this shortcoming, where women were not elected to have numbers in parliament. But even after the 47, the problem still persisted. And for sure, the only challenge that we face when we say let these women who are women reps be counted in the number in the single constituency women, to me it is not affirmative enough, because also the cake, the money to do development in the country that is given to women reps is never comparable to that one given to the single constituency members. So myself, if we want to see the leadership in women, can we have these women who actually stand for single constituency positions, so that when they get the 110 million shillings per year, we can see what they can do with it in comparison with men, and it can change the thinking of the voters in voting for a woman when they stand together with a man. You know, we want to see a fair ground. We want to see where people can say yes. Like for now, you see, for me, I am the women rep for Baringo, where I am having 6 constituencies. The money that I get by year is 40 million. The money that is surrounding me in terms from Parliament, from my colleagues, is 660 million. Look at the ratio, 40 to 660 million. And I'm covering the county. This one is covering one constituency at 110. So when you want to look at the playground, it is not flat. It is, the space is, it is never even comparable. Yeah. I am here, somebody is just top there. Still, after some time, people are like, hata hii kiti ya women rep hakuna kitu inafanya. So we want a level where a woman can be given the same space with a man, with the same resources, and be seen to be working, and the difference can be felt, so that we can have a comparison that is actually reasonable and fair. All right. And before that,
your closing thoughts as well, 30 seconds.
I'm still mad about this wage bill issue. Because for real, if we see the people who are running the economy of this country in small business enterprise sector, it is women. When you meet all the streets of Nairobi, the cities of Kenya, the roads of this country, who are selling potatoes, the ones who run selling sweets, the ones who, they are women. But when it comes to giving them positions, it is wage bill. Look at it. When they were creating the CAS issue, positions, still, they didn't talk about wage bill. They created, people were given jobs, but the numbers is not considered. When they talk of wage bill, if they were to do and actually go with with the cabinet positions, what would it, how would it be expensive by putting the that? Because it would have just replaced a man. Right. And there was no wage bill. I mean, let's be fair. Let's not take women to be very expensive. We are just asking for positions. These other things, makeups and the like, we'll do it to ourselves. Don't look at them and think they're expensive.
Honorable Cherargei, as you give your closing remarks, so is it your position that you do not, in the first place, support this not more than 2/3 gender principle? Because you've shot down many, even saying you did not support this constitution in the first place. So then, is that to get to the point, your position?
No, I want
And if it's not, how would you propose we achieve it?
In fact, I want to assure Mheshimiwa Tungo that women are normally expensive, but that is a conversation we'll have another day. What I want to say is that I oppose, and I will reject when it comes to the
you
Senate.
Oppose the principle
with one, if we are allowed to amend the route of this gender bill. That's why I'm proposing that if it allows at committee stage and Senate to add 94 seats, every county to give one youth to be elected, so that we have 7 youth, and then people living with disability or the minorities like Wajomfu, where he comes from, they are in Gems, they are Ogieks, those are minority groups. Because the Constitution has created 4 sets. It has created women as a minority. It has created
marginalized.
Are you not mixing issues in as far as
because it will be selective discrimination. Because if we will take care of the issue of women, it will mean that youth, people living with disability, the minority groups, will also have a challenge, because they will be saying also why we want to be given positions maybe in government. Because the argument that we have been having, even as you look at the cabinet, somebody might ask, where are the people living with disability? Of course, somebody might like, where are the minority in
But to my question, do you, and those are issues perhaps they will come up, as you said, but today we have this principle that's in the Constitution that we struggled to operationalize. So is it your position that in the first place you don't support it? As opposed to
of course, I think that's why I said from the beginning that this was our ambitious Katiba. It was an activist. So you don't support it? In fact, what we should be thinking as a country, even I like the momentum that we are willing to have a referendum. One of the principles that we should remove in this Constitution is this one.
It's gender equality.
So you do not support gender equality?
On the aspect of elections, not selection. But if it is on the issue of selection, I will support, because now on appointive issues and maybe on job opportunities, you can implement that. But on democracy, where you are punishing voters for voting for 8 agenda, I will not support.
All right, your final, you closed for us.
So I think it's very clear. We have people who did not vote for the Constitution of Kenya 2010. They believe that Kenyans, the majority of Kenyans, again, selective democracy, the majority of Kenyans voted for the Constitution, but they believe the majority of Kenyans were wrong. The Constitution of Kenya 2010 is the law today. Until we change the law, that's what binds everyone. And so it really bothers me, both as a lawyer but as a Kenyan citizen, that we can have a chair of a Justice and Legal Affairs Committee of the Senate reject the validity and the binding nature of a Supreme Court opinion and of a High Court judgment. I mean, essentially, what we have is rogue members of parliament. And it's not all members of parliament, because you've heard some people saying, yeah, I have reservations about this bill, but I will vote for it. And I want to remind Kenyans that part of why we enacted the Constitution of Kenya 2010 was we're trying to have limited authority for all state officers. And the way we are going to move back from violent politics is if we can have people in politics, in public office, abide by the law. But if you get into public office so that you can violate the law, then people will kill to become members of parliament. Because once you're a member of parliament, you're not bound by anything. Not the Constitution, not any laws that require that you act with Chapter 6 integrity, meaning I do not agree with this provision of the Constitution, but I took an oath to defend and protect it, and therefore I will vote for it because I am required to do so by oath. So the violence of our politics, this is where it is sown. It doesn't seem violent, but this is how violence happens.
Okay. We'll end it there. Honorable Gladwell Tungo, Woman Representative, Baringo County. Marilyn Kamuru, she is an expert on the gender principle, a lawyer as well. Honorable Samson Cherargei. Sorry?
I want to call upon members of parliament.
Yes, our time is up.
That when Wednesday comes, kindly support us in numbers.
Right.
The principals of parties, kindly talk to the members of parliament in a way you know. And the women who have any kind of relationship with the men in parliament, please have a pillow talk with them so that on that Wednesday, we can have them vote in numbers. Thank you.
We will wait to see if in fact that will happen. And finally, Honorable Samson Cherargei, who's an Nandi Senator and Chair, JLAC Senate. Thank you all for being with us and for speaking your mind. And I want to leave us with that image, Director, if you may, of the cabinet. And to remind you that it is 2 women short. Even as the President calls on Parliament to pass this legislation, he has not appointed at least 2 women who would have him in the cabinet prohibit the not more than 2/3 gender rule. The person, of course, missing in that picture is the Attorney General, who's also part of the cabinet. We're taking a break. I'll be back with sports news.
Thank you.
This is KTN News.